Power-ups in video games are generally something you want to acquire on account of how they make you stronger, faster, or fulfill a promotional consideration agreement between the game's publisher and a major energy drink brand. However, not every power-up will do you good. Lurking in some games are power-ups that actually make you worse off, whether by harming you, stealing your money, or just making the game much more difficult to play.
You are very warm.
Power downs, you could call them. In any case, steer clear of these 7, because if you pick them up, you'll wish you hadn't. Don't say we didn't warn you. Anyone who's played a Zelda game can tell you that the currency in those games is rupees, green, blue and red crystals that you can use to buy items and equipment, and more importantly, pay the entry fee to go fishing. In several Zelda games though, there exists the dark yang to the rupee's yin, the anti-money item known as the Rupoor. Series creator Shigeru Miyamoto has gone on record to call the Rupoor the evilest item in all of Hyrule, which is saying something considering this is also the series that features the terrifying evil moon that destroys the entire planet. Found in The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords, Phantom Hourglass and Skyward Sword, Rupoors look like regular rupees, except they're black and instead of adding to your cash total, they take money away. Oh, and instead of Link looking happy about picking one up, he instead makes a face like someone backed into his car and drove off without leaving a note. So there is a plus side, I guess. The best known power-ups from the Mario series of platformers are the mushrooms, from the Super Mushroom, which makes you big, the Mega Mushroom, which makes you really big, and the Weird Mushroom, which, maybe we'll just leave the Weird Mushroom. What the mushrooms have in common is that they help Mario on his adventures. The Super Mushroom lets him take another hit, the Mega Mushroom lets him smash through the scenery, and the Weird Mushroom lets you jump higher or something. Sorry, can we get it off the screen? I don't want to look at it anymore. One mushroom that isn't beneficial to the platforming plumber, however, is the poison mushroom, which paints a far more accurate picture of the real-world results of eating random mushrooms you find on the ground. Making their debut in Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, poison mushrooms initially looked enough like super mushrooms that you might conceivably fall for their trap. But by the time Super Mario 3D Land rolled around, poison mushrooms had a purple cap, emitted billowing clouds of poison gas, and, fed up of hanging around waiting to be picked up and eaten, they actively chased you around the level. Terrifying.
Greetings, great champion called by grace. I am Fear. Circumstances have compelled my stay at the Round Table Hold. Great champion, would you allow me to hold you? But briefly.
Many things about Elden Ring are confusing, like how there's a Commander Neil and a Commander O'Neill, and they are in no way related. As this is a From Software game, it's the lore that Elden Ring needs to leave important backstory, controls, and game mechanics intentionally vague, so that you can spend hours on wikis trying to figure out just what the hell is going on. The same applies to various bits of equipment, gear, and power-ups you acquire throughout the game, and if you're anything like me, you may well have been playing a good chunk of the game at a disadvantage because you didn't realize you'd activated a negative power-up. The power-up in question is called Baldachin's Blessing, and you get it from Fear, the creepy deathbed companion who's lounging around in Round Table Hold, offering free hugs. This might seem like a terrible idea, but don't worry, Fear assures you, in return for a hug, she'll provide you with the aforementioned Baldachin's Blessing, a usable power-up that you can pop to boost your poise when you need it.
You are very warm.
What she doesn't mention, outside of euphemistic remarks about sharing your lively vigour, is that having Baldachin's Blessing in your inventory reduces your life bar. In numerical terms, it drops your vigour by 1 point, which, depending on your level, can be a not insignificant percentage of your health, particularly in a game where everything is trying as hard as it can to kill you all the time. If you use Baldachin's Blessing, your lost vigour point will return, but seeing as poise is a pretty esoteric stat that most people won't be thinking about too much in the heat of battle, you could go for a long time with this mysterious debuff, wrecking your chances of beating these various commanders and Neils.
I command thee, kneel!
Oh come on, now you're doing it on purpose.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Driving games have changed a lot since 1997. Today we have the Forza series, which gives us incredible visuals, painstakingly modelled cars, and real-world locations to drive them in. 1997's Carmageddon, on the other hand, gave you a big red car with a knife on the roof and let you drift it sideways through an American football team.
Sorry.
Races in Carmageddon could be won in one of three ways. You could race through all the checkpoints, boring, or kill every pedestrian on the level, or total the cars of all the other racers, leaving you as the only driver with a working vehicle. To aid you in this ignoble quest, there were various power-ups dotted around the courses to give you the upper hand, like turbo boosts or an instant repair for your ailing car.
I'm coming to get you.
However, there were a few power-ups that you'd want to avoid, as they'd really mess with your chances of picking up a W. For example, Bodywork Trashed, which would wreck your car, or Pedestrian Harvest, which sticks a bunch of screaming pedestrians to your car, which is, as you can imagine, quite distracting. Worst of all was the Pinball mode power-up, which made your car bounce off any object in the game like a pinball being launched off a bumper. It doesn't sound too bad on paper, but the sheer amount of physics going on here means that the slightest tap to your car would send it pinwheeling off into walls, trees, and other cars, and in an enclosed space it could wreck your car in seconds, regardless of how carefully you tried to drive. Which was obviously not at all. The game's called Carmageddon, people. ToeJam & Earl was a classic Sega Mega Drive game about a pair of alien rappers who crash land their spaceship on Earth and have to collect these scattered pieces while avoiding such typical Earth obstacles as marauding ice cream vans, the boogeyman, and cackling dentists. To help you survive this onslaught, the game is literally littered with power-ups, which are scattered throughout the levels in gift-wrapped boxes. These gifts range from health-restoring food items, to tomatoes you can throw to defend yourself, to rocket skates, which can be a good or bad thing, depending on how you use them. The twist is that some of these mystery presents contain bad power-ups, and until you open a gift of that type, you have no idea what's going to be inside. As such, you're at the mercy of the RNG gods, unless of course you find an old man wandering around in a carrot suit who will identify your presents for you. Look, the 90s were a weird time, alright? Anyway, if you just went around opening unidentified presents willy-nilly, you could be at the mercy of gross food, which would sap your health, personal rain clouds that would follow you around and zap you with lightning, and worst of all, the power-up known as the Total Bummer. See if you can guess what that does. That's right, it kills you. I can see how they came up with the name. Smash balls are little floating orbs displaying the Smash Bros logo which, on being hit enough times, break open, granting the character that broke them powerful finishing moves called Final Smashes, which range from being shot by spaceships to being beaten up by a bunch of pixel art ducks and cowboys. So as you can imagine, they're pretty desirable. However, be wary when looking for Smash Balls, because in their infinite wisdom, Nintendo also added a fake Smash Ball power-up, which looks almost identical to the real Smash Ball, but if you hit it, it explodes, causing 36% damage and delivering a knockback strong enough to fling you off the stage if your health is sufficiently low. Luckily, telling the difference between a fake Smash Ball and a real Smash Ball couldn't be easier. You just need to look at the thickness of the lines on the glowing ball moving erratically around the incredibly busy level while several other people are trying to kill you. Alright, no more Final Smashes from now on, I guess. Most first-person shooters that have power-ups usually have the good sense to make them provide you with advantages in combat, like shields or extra damage. Apogee's Rise of the Triad, however, decided that was boring, and so it threw in a bunch of truly bizarre power-ups that could completely change the way you played the game, like Dog Mode, which literally turned you into a dog. Or God Mode, which took the term far more literally than most games with a God Mode do, by making you 8 feet tall, glowing, and invulnerable, and able to disintegrate people with balls of energy you fire out of your hand. But the offbeat Rise of the Triad power-up you should definitely avoid is the Shrooms power-up, which is, essentially, an amount of psychoactive drugs that will render the game basically unplayable for 15 seconds. Anyone with motion sickness, look away now. Your enemies start flashing weird colours, the walls start stretching and crawling, and worst of all, the game reclaims control of the camera, causing your vision to lurch sickeningly around, making it basically impossible to shoot anyone, dodge anything, or walk in a straight line. Despite being awful, Shrooms mode was apparently so iconic that it also made it into the Rise of the Triad reboot, where it is similarly unpleasant to look at. Ugh, rise of my lunch, more like. There you have it, those were some terrible video game power-ups that you should never pick up because they will actively make your life worse. If we missed your personal unfavourite, let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you enjoy these videos, why not consider joining the OX Supporters Club over at patreon.com/OX Club to help us keep making them. Thanks, and we'll see you next time on Outside Xbox.